Hey guys, Pete Ramsey here, HVAC Greatness. So if you're trying to earn more money as a business, depending on where you're at, if you're already making great margins, then maybe you're trying to tweak. But if you are struggling with that constant price conversation and it's not allowing you to make the margins that you need to provide the business profits that you need in order, or the business margins that you need in order to provide a good culture for your team, as well as a good salary for you so that you can provide the lifestyle that you want, then something is probably missing. And here you can see this section over here. These are three phases: phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3. And everybody gets focused over here on phase 3. This section 8 represents, when I call it your irresistible services, what we're talking about here, this includes your comfort advisor trying to sell a system to your customers. And until you understand that people buy for emotional reasons and they justify them for logical reasons, until you integrate that into your systems, you're just teaching employees how to be better salespeople, but you're not improving your company as a whole. You know what I'm saying? When you train that comfort advisor to be a really good comfort advisor, and then he or she leaves and goes to work for your competition, and now you're right back to zero. We need to be addressing these other phases. Now, let me give an example of what I'm talking about when I say that your customers buy for emotional reasons. So when we're strategizing this goes way back to phase 2, right? Step 4. We have to understand what those, in phase 1, we discover what those emotional triggers are. In phase 2, we actually create the strategy. So let's talk a little bit about what this means. So here's a nice visual image that'll help you understand. Okay. Imagine if business was a blindfolded obstacle course race and you didn't have a blindfold on and you can see everything in your path. What this allows you to do is to see what is emotionally holding your customers back from doing business with you. Okay, HVAC is an emotional purchase, but it's not emotional like taking a vacation. That's a very positive emotion, or buying a new car or something like that. This comes from a negative emotion situation. This comes from overcoming pain. And I've taught this on previous sessions that residential and consumer customers, regular consumers, they buy based on pain. Okay, businesses like you will buy based on gain. So how can I make more money? How can I get more customers? That motivates you. But your customers are thinking, how can I overcome this situation? How can I get somebody out here that's going to respect my home or not try to steal from me or not try to rip me off? It's a disadvantaged position. So in order to understand that, we really have to go to these subconscious levels, all right? These are very specific and targeted areas that you have to be able to address. Otherwise, we're stuck in the frustration of trying to convince your customers logically, right? They buy emotionally. You're trying to convince them logically why they should buy from you, right? And you're having to use the money trigger in order to get them to move forward because that works. Everybody knows that money works, and really fast service can work, right? Time and money. But when you're dealing with customers who are valuing price over quality, these can be challenges. And so they're evident. We'll see this in things like this where your customers really focus on the price as opposed to, let's talk about how we can improve your home, how we can make you more comfortable, how we can address these issues, how we can resolve the pains that you have. In other words, we're too busy talking about overcome this conflict between a business trying to sell them something and the customer defending themselves so they're not going to be taken advantage of, as opposed to, hey, we've made peace, we trust each other, now let's move into what's really important. So let's talk just a touch about that. Now, there's several steps to that, but here's area number 1. Fears, pains, and uncertainties. This, guys, this is huge. When you understand exactly what your ultimate customer avatar, your best customers, the kind of customers that you want more of, what are they concerned about? And they're not exactly the same. Everybody's not the same. You know that all customers are not the same. So why not differentiate this so that you can attract more of the kind of customers that you want? And you have to understand your customers better than they understand themselves if you're going to be effective on this. So in this strategy, what we're doing in this workshop, and this is not some training program that you just take, but this is an actual workshop. We go through and we identify, and we're very clear on what those pains are so that we can deal with them. But customers do come in with certain desires, certain wants, certain expectations, right? So what we have to do is be able to navigate those waters and understand they may think they want one thing, but what they actually need is something else. And it takes trust to be able to bridge that gap. But first, we have to start somewhere, right? We have to know what these customers typically want and desire at a deeper level than what they're telling you. This takes a little bit of digging, a little bit of work, and we go through all of that, okay? And then finally, we need to know what your ultimate customer avatar, what their typical objections tend to be, so that we can redirect or correct these false these limiting beliefs, these false perceptions that your customers tend to have. As Barney said, we got to nip it in the bud. In other words, we've got to address that really early in the process. Any sales professional will tell you, if you ask them, when should you deal with objections? It's not at the very end. If you're at the very end of your sales presentation or your consultation and the objections are coming up, well, what about this? What about that? It is because you failed to address them during the process. Now we go back to what we were talking about in level 8, phase 3, your excellent services or your excellent sales process. You can go throw your team into a class and let them learn these techniques and everything else. But unless you set them up to succeed with everything leading up to that, you're going to put additional difficulty and obstacles on or in front of your employees that are representing your company. You need to nip this in the bud, and you do this, and this goes way back to your initial impression in front of your customer. I mean, your wrap, your website, your marketing messages and things like that. So we start by knowing our customers, and then we learn what these actual triggers are, these subconscious triggers are. And if you've read the book by Russell Granger here, The 7 Triggers to Yes, which is a great book, this teaches you how to do it in the sales process. Well, we are actually implementing it in the messaging and the identity and everything about your company. What you want is you want your team to be successful, and you have to set them up for success. So it's like selling something, putting all of this on your sales team or on your selling technicians, putting this on them and not making it easy for their customer to buy. And I'm not talking about just financing and things like this. We're talking emotionally, underlying things that they don't even understand themselves. When you learn to deal with that, people will buy from you for emotional reasons. I don't know, I just feel like I can trust you, right? As opposed to logical reasons, which we're great at, right? We can explain logically exactly why they need to buy from us. But they've got to have that emotional first, as well as that logic. Obviously, if you have one without the other, that's not healthy. That's where, if they buy for emotional reasons and they don't have the logic to support it, they will develop something called buyer's remorse. This is not healthy. They'll turn around and want to back out of the deal because somebody had a better price or they were the same thing as you. And it's not the same. And we know this, but it's in creating an identity, including the processes, including the actual technical processes that allow them and can be able to communicate this, that allows them to see your greatness. Otherwise, you're just another heating and air conditioning contractor. So realistically, this is the question. It's decision time. Are you going to continue to struggle with customers who are stuck at price? And if it's gotten to the point where it's price, you didn't clarify these areas in your process leading up to this. In other words, you're just like everybody else, so it comes down to price. It's all the same. What are you charging, right? And Who can't perceive the value that your company brings? Some customers will always be price. That's what it boils down to. They don't want to hear the truth. They don't want to know it. But that is not your ultimate customer avatar. Be specific on who you're targeting and attract more of them, and have these processes in place so that all of this is resolved along the way. And watch what happens as your HVAC greatness is perceived, appreciated, valued, and invested in. Pete Ramsey here. Talk to you on the next one. See you then. Bye-bye.